Hello, I'm Paul.
I'm Adam.
And I'm Ben.
And welcome to the Filmbusters podcast. The film show with no filters, no prisoners taken, loads of disagreements, but one hell of a love for cinema.
If you want to hear three friends ridiculing each other for an hour or so regarding their taste in films, then you have come to the right place.
In each episode, one of the team picks a film for us to discuss. It could be anything from a recent cinema release to an all-time classic.
So, strap in and get ready to get mad or get vindicated as we guide you through the murky world of being a film geek.
If you like what you hear, you can also find us on Twitter and Instagram using @FilmbustersPod. You can also find each of our individual accounts. I'm at Filmbusters Paul.
I'm at Filmbusters Adam.
And I'm at Filmbusters Ben.
If you want to use your eyes instead of your ears, you can also visit the website at filmbusterspod.co.uk.
And if busting makes you feel good, you can also support us at patreon.com/filmbusters for exclusive content.
Alright, can we just get on with this now, please?
Filmbusters.
So it seems the Brundle fly has had an effect on us because we have got a very sickly podcast today. We're transforming into the fly, I think.
It's true, isn't it?
2 out of 3 of us. Well, I think it's 1.5 out of us. I think Ben's half sick.
You're the Gina Davis. You can have our baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ben's medium sick. He can be like whatever the journalist was. He was just sick in the head rather than sick in
I'm the
features.
magazine editor. Paul
Okay.
is very much Jeff Goldblum right now.
I'll be projectile on your hands, melting them.
Yeah. You'll be the first insect politician.
Whoa, I love it. I love it. I just woke up. I just thought, I had some kind of allergy thing this morning, and now it feels like it's going downhill.
What can be said? This is bad news, man. It's the cold
fine.
season, of course.
Of course.
It's the change
Everyone's
in
getting the
temperature is what makes
Yeah.
you sick, isn't it?
I hope you've got your heating on at home, keeping nice and warm.
Not yet, no.
Very lucky. I've got mine on.
Adam, you ain't got that heating on.
We
I've got
actually
mine
need to
on.
get the landlord around to do our radiators because they need balancing.
Bleeding. They need bleeding.
No, it's not quite a bleeding. I've bled them, but they're still. I think they've got some type of blockage in the actual system. I don't know, something bigger than a bleed.
You need to get them to flush the system.
That's the
Either
thing I
way,
think
this
we
is
need to have.
riveting podcasting.
Yes.
Well, people
It is.
need to know that we actually are real people. We're not just amazing film critics.
Of course. Why not?
You want to know my exciting news?
Yeah, go on.
I got a lovely, very heavy-duty dehumidifier yesterday, and I'm quite delighted with it.
Oh.
Is it actually does what it says?
Yes, this is a great dehumidifier, collecting much water.
Where
Much
did you get it from?
DeLonghi, you know the people who make the
Oh,
coffee,
coffee
machines.
machines.
Yeah, who would have thought that?
How much was it?
Don't really want to say. Ridiculous.
Was it
amount.
expensive?
Yeah.
I'm about to say if it was 20 quid, I'll
worth
go
it.
get one. But
No, we're talking hundreds, but very good.
because you're washing
good.
dry instantly.
Say again?
Is it because what is it for your washing? Drying your washing?
No. Because
You get
we're
steamed up
in
windows.
Yeah, and we're in a single glazed place as well, so
Yeah.
we get condensation real bad. But also because it's single glazed, the energy efficiency of this place is pretty bad. So all the heat just blares out. So we can't really crack a window to get rid of the humidity in the air. So we keep the windows closed, crack this on. The amount of water it's collecting is insane. It's wonderful.
Lovely.
I might have to get one for our bedroom because our windows are always steamed up because just like you said, they just instantly steam up overnight.
Hot and
also
heavy in
the
that
washing.
bedroom.
Hot and heavy,
Washing.
that's it.
We always
Lots
have our
of
bedroom
breathing.
door open because it gets extremely hot in there very quickly.
You're releasing all your secrets on live on the podcast.
I know. Good lord. X-rated, Adam.
If people want to be thinking like that, they can do, but I'm thinking it in a practical term.
Well,
Very
they're all
practical.
thinking in a dirty way.
Very practical, Adam. You're very practical in that bedroom, I'm sure.
Practical Adam, who brought us a very practical film to cover.
Yes.
today.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
What are we doing, Adam?
We are talking about a film called True Stories, which was directed by I'm calling him David Byrne. I almost called him Dan Byrne for some reason. That's the Newcastle defender, and also spelled differently. But I don't know. We're going to talk about it now, or don't we do the quiz? I don't know.
No, not yet. Before we go on to talking about it, let me just mention our Patreon up front. We got a Patreon at www.patreon.com/filmbusters. We can get exclusive episodes. You can suggest films for us to do. You can come on the show. It's all very lovely over there. And we're doing an episode of this episode, aren't we, Adam? What are we doing?
Yeah, so I worked out a very hard topic. We are talking about films that have been directed by people who aren't traditionally to do in the film industry, I think was the thing. So they're not like actors who decided to direct a film, or they're not directors themselves. They're people like, I've almost called him Dan Byrne again. Yeah, who have come along and they've just thought, I'm directing a film. They're not a traditional person in the film world.
Wonderful.
Yes.
Their primary job is outside of film.
Well, we get it, and I'm excited to talk about it. Might be some crossover, who knows?
There might be. Can you hear Formula One again out my
You
window?
can hear the leaf blower
Yes.
Olympics happening.
It's the leaf blower. What can be done? It's what happened when you live in the city.
They
What
should
can
wait
bloody be done?
They should wait another 2 weeks, let all the leaves fall, and then do it in one go, because they'll be back out there soon.
Very, very strange day to be leaf bloody blowing.
Very
I hope
wet
he
out
gets
there.
better get soaking wet in that rain, I hope.
It's not even falling that heavy. It's like that sort of shitty rain, the kind that you wouldn't want to do any outside job in.
It's going to be so hard to blow those leaves, they're going to be stuck to the floor.
I know, bloody stupid.
Stupid
This is
man.
what this country's come to.
I say stupid man, it could be stupid woman. I was assuming it was a man.
Let's have a peek and see what he looks
Very
like. Hang on,
sexist of me.
do you two want to guess what he looks like while I look out the window and see what he looks like?
I think it looks like a woman doing the leaf blowing, because I'm very 21st century.
It's a young man. So naturally, it's his job, isn't it? It's not for the ladies. Ladies
Wonderful
can't
stuff.
have that job.
Right, shall we move close to speaking about the film and do the quiz, Adam?
This is the quiz. I'm going to ask these guys 2 questions. If they get the question right, they get the point. If they get the question wrong, I get the point. The scores are currently all over the chip shop. They are 2 point. Oh my fucking hell! I can't speak. 26.5 to Paul, 22 to me, and 21.5 to Ben.
Heavens, now's the time.
But yes,
It's time to step
For
up.
me.
are you ready for question number 1?
I have
Yes.
no idea what any possible question
These
could be
was an
from this film.
impossible film to make up questions on.
Even if you tried to take notes and think Adam would ask a question about this, it would be impossible because
anything.
there's far too many
I
things.
always start
Yeah.
watching the film, and I'm always like, I don't want to go for this. Let's go for something rogue. And then slowly as the film progresses, I'm like, fuck, what's the name of that shop in the background or something like that?
Oh god, so that better not be one of the questions.
And then you look at it, and in this one it just said supermarket or greengrocers. I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake, it's not even got like
course.
a quirky name that you can relate back to something. Anyway, are you ready?
I hope
Yeah.
so.
Question number 1. 50 sets of what were used in this film?
Twins.
I know. This is where I had to go to. I knew you probably have it in your facts.
What was that? What was that?
Ask the full question, Adam.
In the filming of this film, they used 50 sets of twins were on set doing everything.
Really?
Why everyone looks the same.
There's
didn't even know.
There's 50 twins in the movie.
Oh, right, okay.
And I didn't know it. Like, basically, I was watching this on Amazon Prime, and when you can click onto trivia while you're watching, and this one just popped up, and it was like there are 50 twins. I'm like, where are they? And then after that, I couldn't help but see them
See it in the whole-
everywhere.
Spot the
like,
twins.
everywhere. Like when people are driving around, there's like always people looking the same.
Yeah, I noticed the people looking the same. I didn't realise it was twins. That makes sense.
And question number 2 isn't about the film because I've run out of questions. This film is about 1968, 86.
What?
I'm getting very jumbled up. This is
You
about
are, mate. What's happened to you?
1986. What film won Best Picture in 1986?
Oh.
So it was something in 1985 then.
Oh, yeah, true. I was thinking of stuff that came out.
Tricky year.
I'm actually going to give you a clue because I think it's quite
It's a tricky one.
Go on,
It is... Actually, that's too big of a clue. Nah, I won't give you a clue. Yeah.
He
Well,
said it's rogue. It's a hard one, and then he's not going to give us a clue.
Yeah, me and Paul are not going to get this, so you better give us some little clue.
It's got a continent in the name.
Paris, Texas. No, sorry, I just came
Really,
out
that's
with
your
that's
answer,
not right, is
and
it?
that's also-
That's not right, is it? That's not even a continent. Don't know why that
let
came.
me have a think
Texas. That's why it came to my head. This film.
That's why. Has a consonant in its name.
continents.
I can
Let's think about this.
only think the film is called Out of Africa.
Correct, Ben.
Oh,
Oh,
beautiful. It's the only film
look
I
at
could
that.
think with a continent in.
I know. That's why it kind of gave it away, because I don't think there's many films that have won Best Picture with a continent in the name.
I haven't even seen the film. Don't even know what it's about. Just
Nor
know
have
the
I.
film title.
Well,
Look
very
at me, I
good.
collected both points.
Yeah, you have.
You needed
You've
those. It's
overtaken
good.
me, and you're right on the legs of Paul.
On the
Ooh.
legs. On the legs.
On your legs.
Love it.
I'm second place for the first time all year.
Well done, boy.
Yeah, I'd say it with a bit more enthusiasm.
My sickly state. I can't be
That's it.
enthusiastic about anything.
You were weakened down and I took advantage of it. I got on your legs and I'm there now.
I'm being drugged
Well done,
out.
Ben.
Thanks.
Well done.
Very good. Very good. Should we move on to
Very
this film?
good. Yes.
My name's David Byrne, and I made a movie about a bunch of people in Virgil, Texas.
David, relax. Relax. Remember, you're going to look up into the camera.
They're getting ready for the 150th anniversary of their estate. They're calling it a celebration of specialness.
Something's happening here, all right. The world is changing.
It's created confusion and chaos.
Do you run out of Kleenex, paper towels, and toilet paper at the same time?
What time is it?
No time to look back.
I want someone to share my life. Marriage is a natural thing, and I'm a natural man. I love the women. Hey, there's more to life than this job.
Hello, I'm Louis Fine, and I'm looking for matrimony with a capital M.
Yep, it's fancy driving, all right. Not only driving, but parking.
Bunch of maniacs out there. You know how hot dogs come 10 to a pack and buns in packs of 8 or 12? You gotta buy 9 packs to make them all match up.
Right, everyone, today we're doing True Stories from 1986 by David Byrne. This is a spoiler episode. We'll go straight into it, spoiling everything. So if you haven't seen it, you might want to go watch it first. Before we do so, there are a couple of people who've been in stuff we've done before. Do you know who they are?
It can only be John Goodman.
Yes.
Is there more?
There's
What films was Goodman in?
Only one.
No.
Only one.
Oh, right.
Jesus. No, it wasn't in Jesus. Rolls, was
No.
it?
The other one, the other Coen one that we did
it was old,
earlier
was it?
this year.
Go on.
What was the Coen one we did earlier this year? Fuck. Can't remember the name of it. Leaving Las Vegas? No. Something Las Vegas. Or something Los Angeles.
The one with the baby in it.
Yeah.
That one. Raising Arizona.
Correct. correct.
I knew there was an American state in there.
And the other one you're never going to get. It's a guy called John Ingle. He played the preacher in this film, and he was the Doctor in Batman and Robin. So there you go.
Oh wow.
I don't even remember a Doctor in Batman and Robin.
Neither do I. So he's in it. He's in it though.
The funny thing is, when that preacher was doing his thing on screen, I was like, you look familiar. He must have been in some other business.
God knows what else he's in, but he's not in big parts apparently.
Oh dear.
Right, Adam, you got a plot description of this?
No.
Yeah, I was
There's
thinking,
not really.
how the fuck are you going to do
It's a
this?
weird and wacky film where David Byrne turns up in this little town in Texas and says some quite nice quotes about life and all that stuff. Some songs happen. Some twins turn up, and
They sure do.
the film ends.
Sure does.
I think I saw he described it as an acid trip.
Yeah.
And yeah, kind of makes a bit of sense. It's a bit like his other film where he didn't direct those ones, but like Stop Talking Now. And
Stop making sense,
that-
you mean?
Stop
making
making
sense.
sense. Fucking hell.
Stop talking
Stop
now.
talking.
Making
now.
sense. I'm the one not making sense.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, they just don't make sense.
I think Adam's also sick in the head, so there is a trilogy
I
of
think
sickness
so.
here.
Been a very frantic day today. I'm all over the place. I need to settle. I need to calm.
The
Maybe I'll
film
stop
has
talking and
actually
calm.
jumbled us up
Apparently
quite
so.
accurately, because this is the most peculiar film that we've ever covered on this podcast, I think. Not in a typical David Lynch way. It's the strangest fucking film. Like halfway through watching this, I was like, how the hell are we going to talk about this? Anyway, here's some interesting bits if you want some interesting bits. So, as Adam says, directed by Talking Heads singer David Byrne, the film was released to coincide with an album of the same name. Most of the songs from the album are in the film, but are covered. This guy with this leaf blower, man. But are covered by the leaf blower man. They're covered, being lip synced by actors for the most part. Byrne was given a lot of creative control over the film due to the success of Stop Making Sense, 1984's Stop Making Sense. The screenwriter, Stephen Tobolowsky, said that David Byrne once invited him over to his house and showed him a series of drawings he had put up on his wall. And Byrne explained that each drawing was based on a newspaper clipping he kept in a scrapbook from tabloids as the band had been on tour, of individual stories, and he just liked them and he clipped them, and he thought he was intrigued by the idea of making a film based on the premise of all these stories being true. So Tobolowsky wrote a draft of the script, but then Byrne rewrote the whole thing, but insisted that Tobolowsky and his wife were listed as screenwriters ahead of him, so the film wouldn't seem like a David Byrne vanity project. During Tobolowsky's early talks with Byrne, he told him the story of a series of psychic experiences he had had in college, in which he'd been able to hear tones that told him things about other people, and then Byrne incorporated that story into his version of the script, and he used it as a basis for Ramon's psychic powers and the basis of the song Radiohead. And anyone who knows me will know I love Radiohead. The reason Radiohead are called Radiohead is because of the song Radiohead that first appeared in this film.
Did you know that before
Ramon
this?
Singing it.
Oh.
I didn't know. I knew it was based on their song Radiohead, but I didn't know the song was in this film.
Okay, because I was reading the trivia and I was like, I'm going to use that as a question, but then I was like, Ben is 100% going to get this one. He might miss the twins, but he'll get that one.
Yeah, I'm getting that one. Finally, Talking Heads released an album titled True Stories, and the band performs most of the songs from the film. The album is not generally considered a soundtrack album because it's the band themselves covering everything from it. And interestingly, Talking Heads were unable to perform at Live Aid because Byrne was working on this film.
I know. Pretty mad that they.
I know.
I think this film is more famous than Live Aid.
You reckon? Yeah. It's also one of comedian Joe Brand's favourite films. There you go.
See, I can imagine
really?
that.
Okay.
I can imagine it being people's favourite film. Like, I think it really. Well, we'll talk about this in a minute, I guess. When that's a part of
well, go ahead, Adam.
It's
we go to you now to decide.
Okay, let's talk. I'm going to send it out first. So
let's Talking Heads.
Yeah, we are now. We're talking.
Threw him off there.
For a soundboard head. Anyway, Paul, I want you to go first, then Ben, then me.
Okay.
You going last?
I mean, what a year we've had so far. Like, to go from these absolute bangers of Aliens and Fly to something so directionless. This movie is just not for me in the slightest, to be honest. I've come to realise that, like, the style... I've always thought about this, but I think the style of, like, Wes Anderson and, like, the Coen brothers, I think they're very close. Yeah, I think it's, like, the tinge of, like, darkness and black comedy is kind of what elevates the Coens over Wes Anderson. There's just something so similar about them. But I just hate Wes Anderson stuff. It's that it takes away the pretension, I think. And that's what rises the Coens above Wes. But I think this saddles itself too close to, like, an aimless, way too optimistic Wes Anderson film, coupled with, like, crowbarred music videos for songs that are just not catchy or interesting, in my opinion. And I don't like it. So what a way to stall the run we're on. That's my first impression.
That's why I put you up first, Paul.
Well, first of all, before I say anything, Paul, do you think that I like this film? Do you think I would like this film?
No, because it feels very much like the style of Raising Arizona, which you weren't too happy with, and I think this is less directionless than Raising Arizona.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking about it more in the line of, because it's kind of surreal and weird, and everything feels strange and peculiar.
Well, maybe for that you might like it for that reason.
Well, no, I didn't like it.
Okay,
I didn't like it. So it was very, very quickly within the first 5 minutes. I'm like, God, this is going to be a piece of work to get through. It's one of those ones. And I like David Byrne. This is the thing. I like David Byrne. I like Talking Heads. And I kind of like his peculiar artistic integrity and the things that he likes. But the whole thing was just like, I'm seeing... It felt like exactly what he said, newspaper cuttings. It's like I'm reading a story over here, and now all of a sudden I'm reading this story and this story. It's like, why? What is all of this? How does it connect? But I thought, let me give him benefit of the doubt. Let me try and make it connect. And I think ultimately, the only comprehensive way I can look at this film is that David Byrne considers himself someone from America because he's dressed in this typical cowboy kind of way. He's driving a Cadillac. He's talking about highways. He considers himself an American. However, he feels like an alien or an outsider in America because he still knows that he's not the same as all these people. He knows that he's thinks a little bit different. So to him, all these normal people are like exotic aliens, and this is him interacting and learning about their mundane day-to-day lives. And I guess you could view that as interesting, but it didn't grab me enough. There were times when I liked seeing David Byrne on screen, particularly when David Byrne was walking around the mall with John Goodman and stuff like that. But every time it cut away from David Byrne, I was like, I don't really care about any of these people because we're not really meant to. It's not really a story to get invested in. It's just random things and then songs and stuff. But I do like the idea overall that it seems to be about progress and growth and moving things forwards. Like there's lots of stuff about him driving through areas where there's nothing, and then him saying one day there'll be loads of stuff here, him talking about the evolution of roads, the shots of people working in factories alongside large pieces of computer chips and motherboards. It's like, humanity is helping the machines progress and computers progress to the point where, ahead of its time, 86, computers will do things. There's some interesting things there, but ultimately 90 minutes felt far too long for what this was, because I still don't know what this was. It was a vanity project, I think, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Yep. I gave Paul first because I thought he'd enjoy it the least. I thought Ben would probably medium enjoy it. I thought out of all of us, I might get the most out of it.
I'd say you would.
That's why I kind of put it in that order. But yeah, I do agree with basically most of what you said. It was... well, first of all, I made literally a mental note of saying this is what Wes Anderson thinks his films are like, and I started off quite enjoying it, I must say. I was on board. I was like, okay, a couple of musical numbers, but they're all good songs as well. They're Talking Head songs effectively, aren't they? So they are really good. But after about half hour of the film, or maybe a bit less than that, it really started. I was really struggling with it. Just stupid things like, the dog was quite hype. He was running around playing for tennis ball, but it was even something simple like that was distracting because there's nothing really happening in this film to keep you, that the intrigue of you isn't there as much. There's not a plot line for you to grab hold of. And after about 20 minutes, you're like, you need something to bring you back into the film a bit more. The aesthetics and the songs aren't enough. And that's where I think this film really does come down. It came to one point, it was a bit like the Blues Brothers, I thought, of a way of, like, it's relying heavily on great musical numbers, but the Blues Brothers has a very solid storyline throughout the middle of it, and an intriguing plot line that keeps you... I really couldn't tell you much of the plot line in this film. Like, there isn't one. It is him just bumbling around, and it's like a social commentary on America and a modern life. And I think I read somewhere where David Byrne has never actually got his American passport yet. He was born in Scotland, and
I didn't know that.
He moved to America when he was like 4, but he's never claimed citizenship in America. And I think, like what you were saying about him feeling like the stranger in that country,
like an outsider,
I think is where the plot of this came from. But then I must say, towards the end, I did kind of, when they were doing the bit, like almost a talent show towards the end, and especially when John Goodman did his song towards the end, I thought that was great, and I quite enjoyed that bit. But overall, the music's great. I listened probably to the album, but I probably would never watch this film again.
I think there was only 2 good songs in this, really, and it was the kind of karaoke bar at the beginning, that song.
Well, the Wildlife one?
Yeah, that was great. That was the best.
Good. Yeah, and that felt so much like a music video.
Yeah.
Well, that was. They
and that's
actually
why I thought
used
this was
that
going
as
to be
a
a
music
bit more
video.
of the film. Like, the film was going to be properly like this throughout. And I'm like, okay, I'm definitely on board with this. But yeah.
But
It
I think
needed
that,
more songs.
I think when it strays away from David Byrne actually singing, like the preacher singing, the woman singing at like the fashion show, I was like, they're just not strong, these voices. I don't care for these people singing. It's just weird. But it's talking about like the direction of this film. It is like directionless. The only plot thread really that you're following is John Goodman's trying to find a wife.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only thing you're really following. And even when it comes down to, okay, we're leading towards a talent show where everyone's going to showcase their talents, it's so fleeting, go through it. It doesn't even like focus on it until John Goodman. Like, John Goodman's the only kind of through line through everything that you're actually getting any payoff from.
Yeah. I know. I feel like the John Goodman character must have been created by this screenwriter, Jodorowsky. Because I imagine that in the original script, it was probably more about him, and there was probably more of a story, and then David Byrne was like, no, make it weird. Just fucking make it weird. All I want is weird stuff.
I don't think he's intentionally making it weird. I think he's,
I know.
He's doing that commentary on it, but without attaching it to something, so it makes it weird, it makes it bizarre, it's more surreal, I think, than weird, isn't it?
It is.
Like,
it is surreal.
Even at I think the thing that stands out for me most, again, was probably the John Goodman thing. But when they're in bed, they're literally lying in bed. They're like newlyweds. He's got newlyweds, newly bed, and like they're now just get interviewed in the bedroom or something.
That's the thing, though. That's not even when who he finally couples with. That wasn't a payoff. I was like, why? I don't care about this woman.
Yeah, I mean, there's no caring for it. It's just, okay, I was like, I didn't even expect that to happen. I was like, oh yeah, I'm looking for love. But then, okay, Sonny, you're just married out of nowhere almost. It's like, yeah, it really struggled with a lack of flow and a lack of some type of plot line. I mean, it's not hard to even add a basic plot line to this film because there is so many storylines going through it.
It's more like he had a bunch of observations, a bunch of quirks, and he was like, I want to capture all of them. And I think that's what it is. It kind of makes this film a bit more like a essay on various things, like the state of Texas,
like small town living,
how things are. Small town living.
It should have been like if this was made now, it's been on Netflix, and it would have been 10 5-minute episodes or 10-minute episodes or something about each individual character, or even if it was like a Coen Brothers film where they do the chapters and it's like Ballad of Buster Scruggs, like you focus on that character for 20 minutes and then we focus on the next character for 20 minutes. That would have worked, because then you don't really need that storyline, you are just following them slightly. But when you jumble it all together and really don't explain it that well, it does start to wear thin.
Yeah. Like, the moments are so fleeting. Like, there's a moment where a couple's like walking around aimlessly in a field, and then she goes, "Did you fart?" And then it ends.
Yes.
And it's like, what is that? I don't even know who these people are.
See, like, I know, right? But like, if you take that scene as an example, I don't like it either. But if you take it, I guess he's saying something, because what you've got in that scene, which is like 30 seconds, is quite a moody, beautiful shot. This couple very much in love, just walking, strolling through it. And then she says, "Did you fart?" You're not expecting that. So it subverts an expectation in that scene, and then it moves on. But that's a conscious decision. Someone has decided, we're going to have this scene, and it's going to play out typically, and then we're going to have a "Did you fart?" gag. And it's not the kind of film that is just full of fart gags and stuff. That's what makes that memorable, because you're like, why the fuck is that in
Jarring.
there?
But the thing, I kind of understand where, like, the whole thing is about like the technological age coming into like a small country town, and all these kind of, this small town mentality is still like rife in this town. And even though everything's moving forward, it's still these same people in the town like carrying on, trying to move on into this new age. But it's like there's a jarring effect of this mentality against this new age coming in. I kind of get that.
Yeah, I think that's what Talking Heads kind of were. Adam, you probably know a bit more than me, but I think their feeling in the 80s was kind of like, we're at the birth of these real technological advancements, and we're trying to figure out where we as humans fit in as this is happening. They were ahead of the curve, Talking Heads, in that regard. So I feel like that's a little of what he was channeling in this film. He's basically, David Byrne is basically David Bowie, only the American, or the Scottish version, if you want to say that he's not American.
And he came probably along a little bit later, almost, and a little bit, he had talking, but
I think it's kind of encapsulated really with what the idea of the film is, with one of the earlier scenes where you have pretty much everyone in the town working in this factory line, and it's, instead of it being some like random like toys they're putting together, it's like these serious like silicone circuit boards. It's like these people wouldn't be putting circuit boards together, but I think it's the idea of the fact that they don't look like the kind of people who are moving ahead in this kind of technological age, but they're still here doing it, kind of thing.
Yeah. And there is interesting lines of dialogue like interspersed throughout occasionally, but mainly because of how odd they are. And the way that David Byrne delivers the line is just strange. Like there's, that scene where he's clearly in front of a green screen in the car driving along, and the steering wheel, not only is he driving it left and right, it's forward and back. Yeah,
it's like, what's going on?
Pushing it back with the forward. Like it's meant to be a bit silly, but he's saying he says things like, I personally believe I can see Fort Worth from here. It's like, that's such a strange way to say that line. I personally believe I can see Fort Worth from here. Like, if you can see Fort Worth, you'd say, I can see Fort Worth from here. Why do you say I personally believe?
The quirkiness of it. I mean, it is very Wes Anderson in that way, almost like of the way the characters talk and the style of the film. I think, at the beginning I thought this is better, then I thought after a while it does start to wear a little bit thin like his films do. But there was some quite nice things that he did say, and I did think it was like every time he was talking about every time he entered the town, he notices all the little things, like the way the doorknobs look, for example, and he says when you get there for a while you don't.
Yeah,
and then you leave again and you come back and then you start to notice. It's like kind of like you got to take back and appreciate what these people have now, like they've appreciated their town a little bit more.
Yeah,
and all of that, and the line at the end in that song at the very end of the film, as the credits came up, but it was like the dinosaurs used to once dance here, now we are. I think you said or something like that.
That's nice. Because he opens up the film by saying the dinosaurs and the first people were here, and then this tribe fought with that tribe, and that tribe fought with that tribe, and that tribe fought with that tribe. The never-ending cycle.
And then the French asked if they could enslave the people, and they said they don't want to be. Or something along those lines.
He did get, and then the Spanish came and traded their gold, I think he said, and then...
Do you know what all of this works much better as is lyrics in a song in an album. It shouldn't have been a film. Like, it's great concepts and ideas and lyrics and thoughts that you latch onto. Like, Adam, you're picking some beautiful lines that you connected with. They would work better in a song that you can sing and enjoy. But seeing it in a film, it's almost like if you tried to take an album and the magic of listening to an album and put it completely to cinema without organising it for cinema. It turns out like this.
If I absolutely loved the album that this came off and I watched this film, I can see you being... Let's say you've been listening to that album for the last 20 years of your life, and then suddenly it came from a film, and you watch the film. I think you would be a bit more like, I'll just stick with the album.
I think so, yeah.
I feel it'll work a little bit better.
The album was enough. Like, I think, obviously you'd have a connection to the song and each moment would feel more surreal and better, but I still think if you wanted more context and more content as well from that album, then
it does show that, like, he could probably make, I don't know if he did for Talking Heads, but he could have probably just directed all the Talking Heads music videos. Like, his eye is quite cool. Like,
his eye as a director was fine. I think it's more of the storyline that let us down.
That's just what it is, though, isn't it? It's just, it feels like a load of music videos stuck together with some random bits in between, kind of loosely tying stuff together. And it just gets boring and very quickly, because if you're coming to, like, watching, I don't know, MTV or something, and one of these songs comes on, it's quite a fun little thing. Like, it's a very quirky little video. It's like, oh yeah, it's cool. That's a good, well directed. But not when you're watching it for an hour and a half.
It was a long 90 minutes.
Yeah.
It truly felt its length. It did. A couple of other nice things in it, though. Like, I like the sentiment at the end when John Goodman performs this song, I actually quite like Goodman singing that. That is nice.
Sure.
I think his performance is good, and even though it's a nonsense,
is it actually him singing?
Yeah, that's John Goodman singing. And on the album, I believe it's one of the only tracks where the actor singing stays in the...
Great singer. He should fucking sing more.
Well, he just felt very real. That's what it felt, quite real. It didn't feel polished, and
that's why I think that's why it stood out so much as a part of the film. And most of the other films sounded like it was David Byrne singing, but they were ad-libbing it. I don't know if that was the mix of the film that we had, and they've added the real songs over that, but...
Well, Byrne was singing sometimes, like when there was that Love for Sale on the telly, that was Byrne singing for sure.
Yeah.
There was a couple
the karaoke bar.
He's got a very distinctive voice, doesn't he? So
yeah, he's got a great voice. But when Goodman sings that song, I kind of like that it drives that woman out of bed. But she's watching it on telly and she gets out of bed to give him a call, because it's almost like if you wanted to say, is Byrne saying something like, was he basically saying, oh, America's getting lazy as fuck, they're just lying back in bed watching their tellies all day? But here, even though you're watching the television, you can't deny when you hear something beautiful like music and it moves you to be like, let me get up, I need to change my life. Because for her life was just lying in bed, machines feeding her and everything. Then she hears this beautiful song and it compels her to get out of bed and connect with someone. She did get out of bed to make the call.
Did she actually?
Yeah, she left the bed.
I feel like she just has a phone right in front of her.
Oh shit! Well,
because she certainly is not out of bed in the last scene.
No, she gets back in the bed with him after the marriage. Like, that's for sure.
That's all I'm doing for you. Just getting out that one time. I'm not going to go on a honeymoon.
I know. Well, if she doesn't get out of bed, then it really is saying fuck all, isn't it?
It did have. I guess it kind of had something to say about religion in this. Like that conspiracy kind of is the song they were talking about was all about conspiracy, like it was conspiracy. The government against the people.
I enjoyed the sentiment of that song.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you what they were singing.
It was a great commentary on kind of America. It felt like a Grand Theft Auto kind of commentary. Again, the satire of what it's like in the world, and yeah,
I can see what you mean about that Grand Theft Auto, because you just have these quirky people.
Yeah, and everything is like. This is kind of, it's like a enhanced in every way. They look at it, it's like building, when you talk about building those houses, building those barns as well, and it's like, now you suddenly got a business.
Yeah. And just walking down, watching these NPCs, like say random stuff like, I wrote all the Elvis songs.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like, you're just hearing the insight to these stupid people's minds.
But that's what we were getting, all those weird snippets, like, you know, when they were in, before that first song, it's just jumping from table to table and you're just catching these snippets of different conversations, people acting and talking weird and making strange statements. That kind of reminded me, and it made me think, why is this better? It reminded me of in Twin Peaks The Return, at the end of every episode, and sometimes at the beginning, they would cut to the roadhouse and you would suddenly listen in on a conversation of people that had nothing to do with the episode and never returned again. Mm-hmm. And it's like, why did it work? And why does this whole strange, surreal aesthetic work in Lynch's hands and it hasn't worked in Byrne's? Because it goes to show it isn't just a case of, oh, it's weird and it's good because it's weird. It's good because it doesn't make sense. It has. If it's weird and abstract and streamy, it can still be shit. If you have an idea, if you have something underrunning it, then it's going to tie it all together. And Lynch's does. It's something you can't quite put your finger on it, but
there's
it's
a through line.
There is.
You know you're watching something, like there is a storyline, regardless of how random it sometimes is. You know you're here for a reason, because of the murder of a girl, and why was she murdered? Who's Bob? And it's all bubbling this kind of mystery around the town. So you know a direction. Whereas this, it's like, I don't even know. There's no reason for anyone saying anything in this film.
No, there isn't really.
But yeah, it's interesting what you say, like the non-playable characters, like the MP. Yeah, that is kind of what this town is, and I think that's probably why he used all the twins. And like, yeah, it's I think it's such a well thought out film, and on paper, if you wrote down all of these kind of little quirks about the film, you'd be like, great, I'm into that. And kind of like how I looked at it on there, I was like, okay, that sounds like an interesting enough film to bring to it, but it is just lacking that little bit of substance to take it over. The substance is there, sorry. The storyline isn't there. as such.
Yeah. Do you think this is meant to be? Do you think someone could throw this on and be like, "Oh, it makes me feel good"? Do you think it's a feel-good film?
Yeah, I can see. Like I said, I can see why people would say this is their favourite film.
Can you?
I feel like with the music in it, if you love Talking Heads, like all of that kind of stuff, if you loved him, people love this type of stuff, don't they? It's why I can see people saying Wes Anderson's got their favourite type of films and stuff like that.
Yeah, but with Wes Anderson, as much as we all criticise him, there is a story always in his films. At least there's that, whether you like it or not, and like the way he presents it's a different thing. Whereas here, it's almost like if this is your favourite film, I'm not saying you don't know anything about film, but it's an anti-film. It doesn't really.
That's probably
fit the
why
spec.
people love it.
Yeah, maybe. It's hard to define, I'll give it that.
Like, I'd say this is what Julio always says. This is the kind of film that you'd put on a TV in a party, or like you say, you put on in a bar that's like playing just in the background, and it's something you can glance at and be like, oh, what odd little kind of scene that's playing out right now. You don't
and then you'll
really
get into
context.
it, like, I really want to watch that film when I get home. It looked really interesting, but I didn't catch the storyline in it. And then you get home and watch it, and you'd be like, oh, I caught the storyline in it.
Yeah. All the story was in the visuals. You didn't really need to actually hear what they're saying.
Do you think you need to be from Texas to dig this a bit more?
I don't think so. I think it's quite anti-Texas in some weird way, I think.
I guess, I don't know.
I think it's kind of anti what America was becoming in the 60s.
But it doesn't too much, it doesn't really criticise anyone
it, but
there.
it's kind of, like I said, it's kind of like that Grand Theft Auto take on it, or obviously in a different way, but like, he's kind of commenting on, look at where we're going in society because of, look over here, they're going to build houses here soon and you won't be able to see anything, like all of those kind of stuff. And I think it's a commentary on America rather than bigging up America.
Yes,
I'd say it's like a snapshot of maybe a better time before this new age kind of tore everything down, where everyone's now just so self-involved. You don't have this small town kind of like social aspect anymore. That's just kind of
everyone's
gone now.
working in factories for people, and
and
it was like they said in the line, wasn't it, like everybody in middle class America works for a company their whole life or something like that, and now they're owning their own companies and like all of that.
See, there are good lines.
That's
like
what I
that.
mean. There is really good, and this is why I don't think the film's terrible. Like there is something in it to take away, and you might look back on it and enjoy it more than you when you're watching it. But yeah,
I think with a film like this, I mean, I don't hate it, but it's one of those ones where I don't like it. It could have been better, but I don't dislike it, but I don't like it. And in years to come, if someone said True Stories at a party, I would go, oh shit, yeah, True Stories, have you seen that? Fuck, that's weird. And we would talk about it. Whereas if someone said, Tomb Raider or The Meg, I'd go, oh, yeah, that's shit. And you would just dismiss it. At least this is like, oh yeah, that's quirky.
That's why I can see
weird.
why it being somebody's favourite film, because it has something to memorise it by and something that's different and to talk about it. And if somebody turned around and said this was their favourite film, you'd have a conversation with them. And you'd have a valid conversation with them.
If somebody said that, I would say to them, have you seen American Utopia? Because that is a million times better, because he has his little anecdotes in between songs.
I think he's worked it out well with those kind of films. They are, because that is short, but really well done short pieces together, which I think why is it so good. It is the same commentary, it is the same type of thing, but done in a better way, like a more,
You got a favourite Talking Head song?
The one they did with X. What's this one? Is it Express?
I don't know. What the fuck's that?
I think it's a remix of what he.
I'd say Burning Down the House.
I just like Psycho Killer.
Psycho Killer.
Oh, maybe that.
Must say.
Qu'est-ce que c'est? Must say. Adam's creating his own language over here.
Lazy. Express D.
Oh yeah, Lazy. Okay, yeah.
That's not really him. That's more David Byrne, to be fair. I'm sorry, but
no, but still. The line, I wrote this down because I liked it. Again, like you say, it came in the middle of them just wandering through the mall. Nothing was fucking going on. But he said, while he was looking at the people walking around, he said, people here are creating their own belief systems. They're making it up as they go along. And it's like, that's an interesting thought. We're all doing that. We all have our
I mean, the
own
commentary of
belief
the film
systems.
is well done. It is there, and like again, you just say it's not well executed. Have you guys looked at Julio's review of this film?
Yes.
Because I thought, person being from Texas, it was kind of interesting to see what he said. But
Let's have a look. I'll do a quick read of it because it's not too long. I have it here actually. I won't say the star rating, so it don't affect our thing. But it says this is a lot less cute when you realise that entire town probably voted for Trump 30 years later, which is probably true. Kidding aside, I feel bad giving. No, it doesn't matter. 2 stars to a movie that features such a delightful musical number as the Wild Wild Life sing-along, but I just can't connect to it the way David Byrne wants me to. I'd agree with that. I can't. If David Byrne wants you to connect, and I can't either. I just don't find these southern oddballs amusing, and the humour is the quirky version of dad jokes, good for a chuckle, but tiresome when it goes on for too long, and 90 minutes is too long in this instance. When I first moved to the US, and to Texas specifically, a friend enthusiastically gave me his copy of True Stories and told me it was a great movie. I felt bad when I didn't agree. It's been 17 years, and I think maybe I understand the movie a little better, but overall my enjoyment of it remains the same. It's probably safe to assume that'll be the case for the rest of my life. There you go. Being Texan don't make any difference.
I know, because you mentioned about if you were from Texas, would you like it? And that's why it came to my mind.
Doesn't make a damn bit of difference, apparently.
Well, his friend maybe from Texas, and he liked it.
I know, but now Julio's been in Texas.
But they're American, though. Probably they might have been American from the off.
American.
Whereas a person like Julio is David Byrne in this film.
That's true.
Yeah,
yes. Maybe
true.
Julio was walking around in that yellow shirt with banana printing embroidery,
driving around in a car that's going nowhere.
Yeah, going up and down saying, I personally believe I can see Fort Worth over there. I personally believe. That's such a fucking weird line.
Is that going to be the new you can't have your cake and eat it too line?
Yes. I've got to say, I don't know, there's a lot of competition. Aliens in the Fly, there's a lot of competition for best line. I don't think David Byrne's going to nick one, but he might, you never know. I personally believe I can see Fort Worth from here. Fucking mental.
Not a case.
What are you talking about? You don't have to say I personally believe.
There's definitely something there's something tangible here that you can discuss and talk about. But God, I do not want to sit down and watch that again.
No. I never would. Never would. But mate, it has a Criterion release.
I know.
What on earth is in that package?
It must have a massive cult following.
Yeah, I guess. And I bet there's loads of behind the scenes stuff and all of that. Like, I couldn't even tell you.
I'm not going to Live Aid.
Yes. God, typical David Byrne. I like David Byrne though. I like him.
I was actually quite a little bit disappointed when I didn't like this as much as I did. And I
Were
was
you
still
expecting
clinging
it to
on
be
to
more
it
of a concert film?
I was expecting it. No, I was expecting it to be like what it was, but I was expecting it to be, a lot more tangible.
Catchier songs.
No, I think the songs are fine. They're catchy enough, but
they were just fine. Yeah, they were no more than fine.
I don't need to walk away from a film singing every song. It's not a Disney film where you need to have the song that you walk away with singing it after it. They were good songs. They were good. They served their purpose in the film well. It's just the bits in between them.
I liked the karaoke one when they were all singing, and I like John Goodman's, and I like Radiohead, and I think I kind of like the Preachers one, but like you said, Paul, I couldn't work out what the fuck he was saying.
Like I could understand the direction where he was going at first, talking to the crowds, but then he just went off, and it's like a choir, isn't it? It's hard to understand what they're saying.
Yeah. It's it's an obscure one. And anyway, listen, I'm glad that we covered it because it was such an unusual fucking pick. Adam, that's certainly your widest curveball that you've brought to the podcast.
I feel like it is quite a big film at the same time. Like, it's got a Criterion release.
I've never heard of it before, though.
Quite a few people on Letterboxd have seen it. Like,
it's highly rated, mate.
Yeah, like it's
bizarre.
Not completely... Yeah, it's not completely, like, from the depths of weird films.
Well, do you think that you could not be a fan of Talking Heads and love this movie, though?
Yeah, I think there is little bits on there that you can... I don't think you'd love it, but there is enough on this film to take away. I mean, like, Paul's actually not the best example in this situation, but yeah, I think with the commentary on America... I don't know where you're going
with that sentence.
I don't know, I just said you enjoyed it. I don't think you like Talking Heads that much, but yeah, I don't know what I was saying. I've lost my point now. But I would say there was a couple of little things on there you could have picked up on if you weren't.
Yeah, one thing you can take away from this is when I was watching it, I didn't hate anyone. It was kind of like, it was all very nice and everyone was very nice and kind to each other. There was no malice. So it's almost like I can't hate any of these people. It's just I don't really care what you're doing.
And that's the thing. Can you think of a single film that you enjoy where there are no antagonists? Like the whole thing with story is you need an opposing force. You need something to be challenging.
Give me something to
your
care about.
story. Yes. What's at stake? There's nothing ever at stake.
Yeah, and I think that is what does let it down. That's why once the enjoyment of the songs has kind of subsided, that you need that something to cling you on and get your roots into.
Do you know what? Oh no, there is a thing. I was actually just thinking the only other film that I can kind of think of that potentially doesn't have any negative things happening in it, but is good, is A Straight Story. But actually, there are negative things, like all his hurdles with the fucking lawnmower. Yeah. And when it goes running rampant down the street.
Because you care about him getting to where he needs to
go.
The
only film I can think of is Chef. I don't know if you've ever seen
You said that before.
Because
you said that
comes
before.
up in these kind of subjects, like...
I'm sure there's adversity in Chef.
There's a little bit, but it's like once that's kind of subsided in the first 10 minutes, I mean, he divorces his wife and then he's trying to win he's working too much and he has to spend time with his kid. And his kid wants to go travelling the country, but once that bit's established at the first 15 minutes of the film, it is just him travelling around.
That's different. It's a success story, isn't it? So you want him to kind of succeed. Yeah. So that's the difference.
I mean, that is what you're going
I don't care about John Goodman finding a wife, especially when he goes with the woman who's in the bed the whole time.
I know, yeah. And when they're in their married suit and all that, they're lying in bed together.
And they've got the newspaper. Like, why does the newspaper care that? I mean, they're following everyone in the town, aren't they? But
did you think for a second, when they were doing the karaoke singing and everyone was coming on stage, I had to skip it back a bit. I was like, is that? Or did you think that was actually Prince?
Yes, no. I thought for a second they were going to have some famous people spliced in. Like, that's not Prince. Like, that's not Prince.
Prince. No, it would have been good if it was. See, something as simple as that.
It wouldn't have surprised you though at all.
Prince would have said, "Sling your hook, man. I'm not getting in your weird fucking film."
I could imagine Prince and David Byrne being very good friends.
Well, maybe. Do you know who? If you watch, I think it was last year they performed. David Byrne sang with Sia and Miley Cyrus on stage at the same concert.
Oh yeah.
And just his energy, I just love it. The way it's not that he doesn't care who's watching and the way he dances. It's more that he's so in it. He's very similar to Tom York that way in terms of stage presence. When they're dancing, it's not I'm dancing like no one's watching. It's I am so in the zone with how I want to dance. This is the only way to dance.
On stage, they are off stage. Like, something happens to you when you walk. Something happens to them. Sorry, when they walk on that stage, and
lovely.
They'll do their dad dancing and stuff like that.
And that's the kind of energy he brings to this film, really. So it's just like, you can't help but like him because he just like seems like this nice guy. But it doesn't really work when it's a whole cast of people like that, and it's like aimlessly looking in on their lives, and it's like, why are we seeing this now? Can you tell me? Give me the reason.
I know. But God bless him for doing something different and original, I guess.
Yeah.
Just, I would never, if anyone in the future said, you need to see the next film by David Byrne, I would give it a wide berth. I'd be like, no thanks.
I don't know. I think him as a director, he was all right. If he did a film with a bit more story in it, I think it could be fine.
Has he directed anything else?
I don't think so. He might have done some Talking Heads and stuff like that.
One and done. Do you know how old that man is?
Probably like 70.
Yeah, 71. 71.
Lovely. Okay, are we ready to rate this film?
Yeah,
yes.
Go on.
Okay, I am... you might be a little bit higher than me, but I'm going for a 4 because I did not enjoy it.
I thought you were going for a 4.
To be honest, that is where I thought I was for a fair chunk of the time, but kind of like what you were saying, there is a certain good heart to it, and it isn't anything malicious, and it's not dreadful, it's not hateful, it doesn't make me sick, it's not painful, so it's just absolute bang down the line 5 from me.
Okay, I'm going a little bit higher again, and I'm going for a 6. I did enjoy certain little parts of it, but yeah.
Such a low score. 3 totally different scores, but still so low.
Yeah.
I was right in the order I put us in at the beginning of the film then.
You were.
You were
correct.
You were.
Unfortunately for David Byrne, that does mean he goes straight into our bottom 20
Really?
of all time.
Jeez.
But it's time
We're going
to
to get so much hate from
place.
people now.
Oh, fuck me. This is harder than it sounds for me anyway. So the first film it is doing battle with is 3 from Hell. By the way, it gets a 5. That's its average score. So 3
This
from
is
Hell,
better than
Paul.
3 from Hell.
I would rather watch
hell.
3 from Hell than this.
Yeah, I think I would too.
Just because I have something to hold
Yeah.
on to, regardless of it not being living up to Devil's Rejects. At least I have like some history of it.
Yeah. All right. Unfortunately, David Byrne, that's where True Story sits. It is the 12th from bottom, pushing 3 from Hell up to 13th. The other films at 5 were Batman and Robin and Hard Target. I actually think I'd prefer to watch this over Hard Target, though.
No, I'd watch Hard Target.
And that means pushed out of the bottom 20 and into the safe zone is Persona.
Look at that.
The Ingrid
Another
Bergman
surreal
film that we watched.
I think I'd rather
Yes.
rewatch this than Persona, though.
Yes, I think I would too. It's funny how the scores are like that, isn't it?
Well, it's
That's
because
our
I gave it a
averages,
7.
though. Well, there you go. And that is where it places.
Should we move on to what our patrons have to say?
Yes. What? How many have to say something?
I think we just have a single patron. Right, just so everyone knows, our patrons, they let us know what they've been watching for the past week, the good and the bad, and we just talk about them and let you know what we think if we've seen them. You can do that at www.patreon.com/filmbusters and become a patron just like the likes of Luke Bennett.
And Francis Cibarini.
And Stephen Mark from Movie Drone.
And Brent from Home Video Hustle.
And Mr. Luke Human.
And Mr. Nerd Rovert.
And Julio from Texas.
And Jamie Russell from Scotland. Not really, he's from South London.
And Katie Anoti from For Your Reference.
And Jason Clarkson.
Welcome back to the fold. Right, so our only patron recommendation this week is from Luke Human, and he says, I thoroughly recommend 2014's Hyena, bleak British crime drama with some genuinely shocking moments, but pervading sense of dread and villainy. Ferdinando puts in a great performance and is likeable and sympathetic enough to hold the story together despite his character and almost everyone being complete scum. Stephen Graham also makes a real impact. Brilliantly tense and stressful, this is an experience that commits to its tone right to the final frame. 9 out of 10. Oh, I've never even heard this film, have you?
No, but Stephen Graham's in it, so that's a huge selling point.
Yeah, Hyena. I might have to put this on my watch list.
If I was to hazard a guess, hyena, what's a hyena? Hyena, cackling, laughing away, quite vicious. So I guess it's about a vicious individual, played by Stephen Graham, who's laughing a lot. Codename for a Joker film.
Here we go. Good policing doesn't necessarily mean doing everything by the book. But as the business of crime in London turns to favour the Albanians and Turks, how does a good policeman survive? This sounds like a racist film.
It does. How does a good policeman survive?
Favour the Albanians and Turks. It's like, that sounds like it's a bad thing.
I know.
Oh, when these Albanians and Turks come in. How could a good policeman?
That is Nigel Farage directed.
It does have good in quotation marks, so they don't believe he's actually good.
Looking on Letterboxd, there's 4 people who've watched it. Luke gives it a 9. The other 3 people give it a 2, a 4, and a 5.
Oh, baby. Well, Luke, we believe you. We believed you.
We believed and believe you. What's his name is in it?
Who?
The guy from
Neil Maskell.
Kill List.
Neil Maskell, yeah.
Yes.
He's always popping up nowadays.
Yeah.
Lovely. And he also says, this is the bad. I do not recommend 2023's Haunted Mansion. None of the spectacular sets nor admirable cast can save this for being a tonal mess with no heart. 4 out of 10. I mean, I expected nothing less. Haunted Mansion.
The thing that was odd about Haunted Mansion is they released it like in the middle of summer. Why would you not release that for the kids like now, like, you know, a month ago?
I don't understand the thinking of these people who schedule stuff. Just weird.
You know, it's like, it's not even a case of, no, we just need to get it out. Like, you want to make money if you're a studio, right? You're a distributor, you want to make money. When is a Haunted Mansion film for kids going to make money? Yes, maybe the summer holidays, but what about the October holidays?
Yeah. There was
Halloween, for fuck's sake.
There was a literal school holiday that just happened over Halloween. I mean, unless they don't have
did the Americans
that's
have
the thing. Yeah, we don't know. Maybe they don't. Well, thank you, Luke. Thanks for that. Ben, I guess we can talk about what film we're doing next for the final film of 1986.
Final film in 1986.
It's been a quick year. Normally it feels like we take forever to do some years, and sometimes they go quickly.
That's because you weren't with us for the first film, so for you, it's been like in and out.
Yeah.
Well, boys, this is going to be a
the
little
old
bit
in and out.
The old in and out. There's a curveball for you two because we're going to have to take this conversation offline to discuss things afterwards, logistics about it. But
okay,
I'm the ard over this. So when we started 1986, there was one film in 1986 that listeners may not know. My wife Jenny was like, "You've got to talk about that film," and I was like, "I'm not sure." Now, this is my wife's favourite film, along with one other, but it is my wife's favourite.
What was The
film.
Matrix?
No, it's up there though. And she was like, "You've got to talk about it," and she was like, "I've got to come on and talk about that." And I was like, "I don't want to do it because I don't like it that much. I think it's okay, but I don't actually like it."
It's not like this. Doesn't
she
sound like you.
loves it, and I was like, I don't want to do it because I just don't want to open a can of worms. I don't want to go on a podcast and talk negatively about a film that you love so much, etc., etc. I and ahed about it, but I think fuck it, let's do it. So the final film in 1986, we're going all the way big. We're going huge. It's Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Of course.
Oh, yes.
and the question is, boys, if I can bring Jenny on to the podcast so she can argue the toss about it. I feel very odd about it because I really don't want to bring down a film that she loves so much.
I'll be standing up for her with it. I love that film.
Well, you don't know. You might watch it again and might not like it.
I've watched that film so many times. I don't think I need to actually watch it for the podcast.
Well, there you go. Bless you, boys. That will be the last film, and obviously we'll have to. When I said logistics, because I know we always plan our recordings in advance, but it'll have to be, if it's weekday, it'll have to be in the evening or on a weekend or something. You know,
okay.
Whenever it can
let us know. We'll work it out.
We'll do it.
You
also, Ben, do you want to get Jenny to do the quiz on it?
Yeah, I'll get her to do the quiz on it. That's true, and then I'll find out all the questions in advance so I can jump past Paul.
Yeah.
Lovely stuff. That is a great pick, and excited for Jen to come on because I've never done an episode with her before.
No, this is true. Yeah, my God.
One night in Miami. She came on for.
Paul wasn't there for it. Same as Jaws 2. Jenny always stands in for Paul.
Oh, yeah.
She never stands in for you, Adam. Don't know what that says.
She's a worthy replacement for me.
Paul doesn't want to talk to her. That's what that says.
That's it. So we're
now
going
I'm forced.
Big. When you look at this lineup of 1986, you got Aliens, The Fly, Ferris Bueller, and then you got David Byrne's True Stories.
Do you reckon this is the first year we've done when they've all been American films? We normally go a bit rogue with something else, and they're all very American films, I'd say.
Very American. Well, when we jump to our next year, I'm sure we can do something about that, boys.
No, I mean, but no, it's not a bad thing. I'm just trying to make it. Normally we go different parts of the world, but
it's okay if you hate America. Don't worry, Adam. Thanks for listening, everyone.
Well, we've done 4 films on them.
Thanks, Americans.
Thanks for nothing.
We'll see you on the Patreon. What are we doing, Adam?
Talking about films that are directed by people who aren't directors.
Yes.
I think there could be an argument or two here.
Oh, maybe. Come over.
I don't have enough films to argue with, so you can argue it, but it's going in there.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. See you on the...
It's already heated.
Yes.
Let's do it.
See you on the Patreon.
Bye.
Fieldbuster.